Close the iris.
Do it.
Hi, I'm Caliban. I've been fond of the Stargate franchise for a very long time, especially the TV series SG-1 and Atlantis. Like many fans of Stargate, I've longed for some good gaming experiences in this world, and we might have finally got one. There's a demo available to try, so load your P90, lock in that 7th chevron and give Hammond of Texas a salute, as it's time to take a look at Stargate Timekeepers. Stargate has always been one of those franchises that struggle to cross over into the video game world, which I think is a tad unusual considering the scope and the popularity of the series. The 3 feature-length films and over 350 episodes of TV created a rich universe full of settings, situations and characters that should provide all of the backstory for a whole multitude of games. One could easily imagine yourself playing a number of AAA titles, perhaps a co-op shooter where you and 3 friends step through a Stargate to tackle the Goa'uld threat, or maybe an XCOM style strategy game where you try to free a world from its snake-like overlords. Instead, what we got was a couple of Stargate themed cash-ins and a selection of cancelled titles, both official and fan-made. I was vaguely aware of a new game in production, but until I noticed the demo the other day, I just assumed it wouldn't lead to anything. However, it looks like this one will actually see the light of day, and next January we'll be able to get our hands on Stargate Timekeepers. I was interested to see it's being published by a company called Slitherine Software, which probably means that it will be a half decent game that goes mostly under the radar and doesn't get a lot of recognition. This might sound a bit of an odd prediction, so let me explain. Slitherine is a UK based independent game studio that's been operating for the last 20 years. They are both competent and experienced with some 30 odd titles under their belt. They seem to be able to secure the rights to some decent intellectual property, and their products tend to have pretty good reviews. However, the games I have played always seem to have something missing. It's really hard for me to adequately describe what I mean. The ones I have bought myself I played for something like 15 or 20 hours and remember enjoying them at the time, but for some reason I put them down and never felt the need to pick them back up again. It's like they're missing a bit of character, or perhaps a little bit underdeveloped. They often feel like games that never reach their full potential, or maybe aren't well advertised enough to sell the number of copies required to build a full community behind them. If you've played Battlestar Galactica Deadlock, Starship Troopers Terran Command or Warhammer 40k Battle Selector, then I think you might be able to understand what I mean. I think it would be fair to characterise all of these games in the following way. They're all good games. They seem to have acquired a few thousand Steam reviews, which on average are very positive, but are at a price point that's a little bit too high for an independent release, especially when you take the DLC into consideration. I'm hoping that Timekeepers is the game that breaks this mould, but we'll have to wait until next year to find that out. In the meantime, we have a demo to take a look at, which does give us a good idea of what sort of game it will be. So, what do you get then? Well, Timekeepers is a real-time tactical game with an emphasis on stealth that's set within the main Stargate universe, specifically somewhere around the end of Season 7 of SG-1. In its own words, the game promises 14 narrative-rich missions which start off during the Battle of Antarctica. You lead a team of specialists through a variety of situations in which you must use a combination of their unique abilities to overcome a series of challenges in order to defeat your enemy. The demo itself, which I believe is the first mission, gives you 2 operatives to control with the goal of reaching a crashed ship in order to use its weapons to thwart the Goa'uld's attempt to access the Antarctic base. The basics are quite easy to understand. You must get your operatives from point A to point B while remaining alive. There are stationary and patrolling groups of guards that will attack if they spot you, so you must generally stay out of line of sight and use your various abilities to get past them. This can be done by shooting them, but your ammunition is very limited, so lethal attacks are best saved for when all other options fail. On a most basic level, you can sneak up behind a guard, knock them out and tie them up, and the game does give you lots of tools to make this happen. Sometimes it's just as easy as picking the right route and hiding when a patrol comes around, but other times you might need to distract or lure a number of guards so you can get into an advantageous position. Your first operative, Eva, can toss a shell casing to distract a guard and cause them to change facing or pause, just like Agent 47 would do with a coin, whereas Max, your second operative, can whistle and then duck behind a corner, causing the patrol to come towards him. There are some tougher enemies that can't be taken down or distracted so easily, but you do also have some abilities to deal with these. Dealing with a single tough enemy this way is no problem. However, when dealing with more than one, you'll need to sneak around them instead of taking them on directly. You can click on an enemy to see their line of sight and detection radius, and it's definitely a game that you must take at a slow pace, as if you overlook a guard they can easily spot you and go on alert. Enemies alerted in this way will sometimes write it off as nothing and go back to their previous task, but if they spot any downed comrades they will group up and start searching for you, which generally means you'll need to get out of that area fast. If they find anyone you knocked out and tied up, they will rescue their friend and then both will start the search, increasing the danger level significantly. However, you can pick up and move bodies to a less travelled area, giving yourself more time to deal with the problems in front of you. I did also manage to throw one of them off a cliff, which was very satisfying. The game engine does seem to rely on visual detection only, and the guards I faced seemed generally unaware of me gunning down some of their companions just a few feet away, which did seem a bit silly at the time. But I guess this is either just a factor of the battle within a battle, or maybe just one of the game's features. I would be interested to see if they go anywhere with this in the full game. There does seem to be some interaction with the terrain which you can use to your advantage. As well as using a cliff as an impromptu body disposal, I did find a bit of wall I could push to open up a new route. There might have been other similar bits I missed, but this is a tutorial level, so I hope it's more of an indication of what they're going to expand on later on in the game. Aside from the individual features, the game does seem to be quite competent. The graphics are quite nice looking and totally suitable, as are the animations, sounds and voice acting. They have the Stargate universe well represented, and any fan of the TV shows will immediately recognise a lot of the art and assets of the gameplay area. The controls are simple, quick to learn and intuitive, and generally everything works as you would expect, with hotkeys available for all of your soldiers and abilities. I liked the fact I could use the WASD keys to manipulate the map as I was moving around, and that I could use the context sensitive mouse cursor with shift clicks, double clicks and right clicks to make the most common interactions. It felt comfortable to play, and the only frustrations I had was in the first few minutes of the mission while I was still getting my bearings. The UI is simple, clean and effective, with everything well presented, and I did like the fact that the game reminded me when I hadn't saved in a long while. It seems that as long as you remain undetected, you can save whenever you want. However, this is disabled if an enemy is alerted and actively looking for you. I did find myself using the tactical pause feature a few times. It allows you to queue up one move and one interaction order with each operative and then execute them in a synchronised fashion, which led to a few very satisfying engagements where I was able to take down two guards at exactly the same time. If an enemy does spot you and has clear line of sight, they will shoot you, which is generally something you want to avoid. Each of your soldiers does have 3 points of health, and the attacks I faced only removed one with each hit. However, if a single one of your units is killed, the mission is over, so you do have to be quite careful. You might be able to get past an engagement or two with brute force, but for the majority of the mission you'll be sneaking around, bypassing enemies when you can and using ambush tactics on the ones you can't. I enjoyed the time I spent playing the first mission, and it certainly served as an appropriate teaser to whet my appetite for more. It took me about 45 minutes to complete on regular difficulty, which felt appropriate for an introduction, but it's not quite enough for me to be able to come up with a suitable verdict for the game yet. If they expand on the content shown in the first mission, bring in more depth, variety and challenge, I think the game certainly has the scope to be quite good, especially if there's more than just a one-off single player campaign to engage with. However, if the game just consists of 10 hours of much of the same, then I don't think it will be really worth the ticket price, so I've not got my hopes up too high yet. Anyway, that's enough of the demo for the moment. We've got about a month now until the full release, so let's just hope that we're not disappointed. Hi there, thanks for making it through this far. Are you interested in what you see, and will you be buying the game yourself? Let me know in the comments. As per the usual script, if you enjoy what I do, then please click either likey button, and if you want more of me, then I'm only a subscribe away.